Hello Oilers fans, welcome back to another video. My apologies for not getting anything up yesterday, which was Sunday. I did intend to have a video up, but I was having some technical issues with my recording software, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to take Sunday off. And I think moving forward, I think Sundays will be my day off unless there is Oilers content that day that I can discuss. But I think moving forward, just so that there isn't any expectations or disappointment if I don't get a video up every single day, I think Sundays are going to be my day off from here on out. If you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. If you're not okay with that, I can still do videos on Sundays. It's totally fine. Anyways, if you are new to the channel, in today's video, normally this is called a day after. So when the Oilers play a game, I will do a video the day after, and I will discuss various topics that you can see on the screen about the previous Oilers game. Now, the Oilers, they did play two games. They played Friday and Saturday back-to-back, which means instead of a day after, this is more of a weekend recap video. Now, if you want more of these videos in the future, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit subscribe, and let's jump into the content today. So, of course, first things first, we're going to be talking about the Oilers and the Avalanche. The topics are on the right-hand side of the screen. Playoff ready, Evander Kane, Mattias Ekholm, Cody Ceci, Adam Henrique, and then the Calgary Flames. Now, I'm just going to quickly show you the Flames screen here. You can see that I have the topics available for Calgary and Colorado on their own separate little pages. I will have timestamps on the video, so if there's any topic or player or discussion that you want to skip to in the video, you don't have to watch this in a linear fashion. You don't have to watch it beginning to end. I will make sure I have timestamps for all of you to click on and enjoy whatever topic you're looking forward to. So with the Oilers and Avalanche, and I guess the weekend in general, the Oilers, they won two games. They beat the Avs 6-2. They beat the Calgary Flames 4-2. Both games were very different for a multitude of reasons. So starting with the Colorado Avalanche, the Oilers won 6-2. And if you look at the bottom of the screen in kind of like a pink-purple shade, you see some advanced metrics, the expected goals for, Corsi for, high danger Corsi for, and scoring chances for. Now, anything above 50% in those categories is considered good for the Oilers, of course, and they dominated the Colorado Avalanche. Now, people will say, you know, Colorado's on the second half of a back-to-back, blah, blah, blah. Listen, it's the NHL. You know, I think it was last year or a couple years ago, the Oilers on their second half of back-to-backs, they were actually very good. They only lost a couple games. They had a very good win percentage on the second half of a back-to-back. These guys are in tip-top shape. That's not really an excuse, and the Oilers should, you know, we shouldn't limit or mitigate the accomplishment that they had against Colorado. They played very, very well. They controlled play the entire game, and that's why my first topic is playoff ready. So, of course, I've talked about this already. The Oilers game against the Kings, when they beat them 4-1, I was like, they are playoff ready. And then the game against the Dallas Stars, they lost 5-0, and they just didn't look good at all. And then I questioned, I was like, are they actually playoff ready? Well, you know, this roller coaster, we're back on the, yes, this team is playoff ready. The Edmonton Oilers, they are playoff ready. They did clinch a playoff spot after their victory against the Colorado Avalanche, so that is very exciting for fans who get to go to the playoff games, fans at home. You get to hang out with all your buddies, order pizza, beer, whatever it is that you eat and drink while you watch games. The playoffs are the greatest thing in hockey. The NHL playoffs are the most exciting playoff in all of sports, in my personal opinion. And after their performance against Colorado, I do believe the Edmonton Oilers are playoff ready. If they play like they did against Colorado consistently throughout the playoffs, they are going to be near impossible to beat. They were getting good goaltending, although I will say the first couple goals that Skinner gave up, you probably wouldn't want him to give up too many of those in the playoffs. But of course, he shut the door after the, it's Calvin Pickard against, no, it was Stuart Skinner against Colorado. It was Calvin Pickard against Calgary. My apologies. My brain is all scattered. I take one day off, and now I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm totally kidding. So the Oilers, yes, they are playoff ready. Their advanced metrics showed that they had a terrific game against Colorado, and I'm very much looking forward to what Edmonton can bring once the playoffs start, because they've clearly shown here that, you know, when they are working as a unit, all four lines are rolling, and all four lines were rolling. I had some concerns because Chris Knoblauch, before the game, he loaded up Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And I was like, oh, well, I'm concerned about, you know, if you shut down that line, where's the offense and production going to come from? Luckily, the Oilers were getting some depth scoring. Evander Kane got a couple goals. It was his first goals in weeks and weeks, and I'm very happy for Evander Kane. So I guess we can segue into that topic. The play of Evander Kane. Now, his play against Colorado was terrific. It was one of his best games of the season. He had 2 goals. He was all over the place on and off the ice. He was mucking it up after whistles. He was producing and chipping in offensively like you'd hope. He was banging bodies, and I thought he had a terrific game. And for someone that has been healthy scratched recently and hadn't scored in over 22, 23 games, It was nice to see that he is still putting in the effort. And I'm someone that has been very hard on Evander Kane this season, but ever since the trade deadline and even after his healthy scratch, well, we'll say healthy in quotation marks. We're not quite sure if he was healthy scratched or if he did have a bit of an injury. I wouldn't be surprised if he has something kind of lingering just based on where he is sometimes on the ice and the shots that he's taking. It's not, the Evander Kane that we've seen prior to his wrist injury. So if he just need a day off, then that's always okay. But in terms of just his overall play, after the healthy scratch, this is some of the best hockey he has played in an Oilers uniform. And even for a couple weeks before the healthy scratch, I thought he was playing very well. His 5-on-5 metrics have been very positive. Some of the best they've been since he joined the team. He's just been very unlucky in terms of putting the puck in the net and having the puck go in the net when he's on the ice. So it's nice to see that fortune is changing and he's starting to get, production again. Now, I will talk about the game against the Calgary Flames with Evander Kane, but his game against Colorado Avalanche, this is a separate topic from the Flames. I will get into what happened in the Flames game, don't worry. Next player I want to discuss from the Colorado game, though, was Mattias Ekholm. Absolute beast of a game for the Viking. He had a goal, he had an assist, he knocked Rantanen out of the game. It was a clean hit. It was the second time that he had hit Rantanen, and Rantanen is currently in concussion protocol, so he was rattled. He was very wobbly and woozy leaving the ice, and you never want to see players get injured. So it's unfortunate the result of the hit, but Mattias Ekholm asserting his physicality, his physical dominance on the ice. His presence was very felt, very known, and a few Avalanche players throughout the game, they tried to take runs at Ekholm. They were trying to get him to fight, make up for the fact that he knocked out one of their star players. I don't blame the Colorado Avalanche's response, because when you see your star player, I know if that was Connor McDavid, even if the clean was hit and he's knocked out of the game and he's in concussion protocol. Sorry, my apologies, my voice. I would want someone on the Oilers to let the other team know, hey, you can't just hit our guy. But I am glad that Mattias Ekholm didn't, he didn't force himself to drop the gloves. The Oilers were focused on winning a hockey game. And sometimes winning a hockey game, it's not just the battle that's taking place on the scoreboard, it's taking place in the psyche and, the mental aspect of the game. Mattias Ekholm, he hit Rantanen twice very hard. He knocked Rantanen out of the game, and then he didn't fight because he was focusing on his play on the ice and helping his team win, gets a goal, gets an assist, and the Colorado Avalanche, after that hit on Rantanen, you could tell they were rattled, and if the Oilers can, they have guys that can get under the skin of other players, the Corey Perrys, the Evander Kanes, Mattias Ekholm now, Darnell Nurse can get under players' skin. These type of players, if you're playing clean hockey, you don't have to respond physically in terms of a fight, and you shouldn't be expected to, and that can drive another team crazy. And let them run around, let them be undisciplined, let them try and go after you. You just focus on your game and find a way to win, and the Oilers did. Mattias Ekholm, it was a great game. If he plays like that in the playoffs, holy smokes, man. I can't say enough good things about Mattias Ekholm. Yes, he's had some defensive lapses here and there recently, but what defenseman doesn't over the course of a season? I know Mattias Ekholm at 5-on-5 since the All-Star break. I think he has 26 points in 30 games, 26 even strength points in 30 games, which is pretty crazy to think about, honestly. Just really good hockey from Mattias Ekholm. So next player I want to talk about, another defenseman, Cody Ceci. He has been playing some very good hockey recently, and I thought his game against Colorado Avalanche was his best game of the season. Chipping in offensively, his penalty kill work specifically has been top-notch recently. And for Cody Ceci, there, a lot of talk going into the trade deadline. Are the Oilers going to move him? There was rumors that there was a deal in place for Chris Tanev from Calgary Flames before Tanev got traded to Dallas, and Calgary nixed the deal, and all this stuff about Cody Ceci, the Sean Walker, a lot of fans, including myself, they wanted Sean Walker. Sean Walker had a very bad game this time against Edmonton. The last time these two teams played, Sean Walker had a great game. Cody Ceci did not have a good game. This time it was the opposite. Cody Ceci had a terrific game. He was +4, and Sean Walker was -3 in the game. If you take stock in a plus-minus, I know some people don't, but sometimes I do like to bring it up when there's a narrative out there that certain players struggle or are good, bad, whatever it may be. In individual game moments, I think it can be helpful. And it showed that Cody Ceci, he was on the ice and he was doing good things. And, there's lots of people being like, oh, well, that game against Colorado, that shows why trading for Sean Walker would have been a mistake. Cody Ceci is better than Walker. I wouldn't say I'd go that far, but if Cody Ceci plays like he did against Colorado and like he has over the last few weeks, his 5-on-5 metrics, expected goals for percentage when he's on the ice, has been very, very positive, and that is good to see. And again, I'm someone that is notoriously very negative towards Ceci, or hard on him, I guess you could say. Not quite negative. I do just like, I like pointing out the facts and stats, and sometimes people don't agree with the stats, and that's totally okay. Not everyone's into the the deeper analytics, but just in terms of Cody Ceci's play recently, I've been very happy with him. And if he plays like he has recently heading into the playoffs, I think Edmonton is in a very good spot. I want this group to succeed. When I want certain players traded, it's not because I dislike them as people or it's never a personal thing. Sometimes I can get in my own head with the numbers, and you look at players on the outside and you think that they can come in and be a terrific fit, and then sometimes they're just not a fit, or it takes a while for them to adjust. And that's what's going to lead me into the next subject here with Adam Henrique. On paper, I thought Adam Henrique, that deal, Sam Carrick and Adam Henrique to Edmonton for a first, on paper, I was like, you know what, that's a fine deal. Adam Henrique's salary was 75% retained. Sam Carrick's salary was retained. I knew Sam Carrick wouldn't move the needle in terms of 5-on-5 play. He is a face-off specialist, and he is someone that will kill penalties, and that is totally fine. The big player in the deal was Adam Henrique, and Henrique has taken a little bit of time to get used to, I don't know if it's the system. I don't know if it's just being away from his family. He has opened up about that, and the difficulties with moving away from a newborn baby. Like, I couldn't even imagine. I don't even have kids of my own. I do plan on having kids, and I don't play professional sports, but even just thinking about being away for a couple of weeks, like that would affect players. And I do still think that Adam Henrique will provide a ton of value, and the offense is going to start coming. I know he has 4 or 5 goals on Edmonton, but in terms of generating offense and being on the ice with good advanced metrics, a little bit, I don't want to say shaky, but not at the level that I thought he would be at. They've tried playing him with Leon Draisaitl, I think, to shelter him a bit. Most recently, he's played with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as his centerman. And the game against Colorado, I thought they played good, but they didn't play great. And then the game against Calgary Flames, that line I felt didn't really work much at all. But again, this is a new line with Henrique, Nugent-Hopkins, and Fogle. So I hope that they can start to pick it up. I hope Adam Henrique can start to get more comfortable and start to get into. I think Henrique right now, it might just be a confidence thing. He is a good player, and I'm wondering if he's just kind of overthinking things. He made that one really, really glaring error against the Toronto Maple Leafs, that play at the blue line when a penalty power play was expiring, and it led to an on-man rush and a goal against on the Oilers. And then since then, he's been hesitant with stepping up in the play. You can tell he's just focusing on staying back, neutral zone, defensive work, which is good. I don't mind that. It's good to be defensively responsible. But Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is also very defensively responsible, and I would like to see Adam Henrique try and push play just a little bit more. This isn't me harping on Henrique or saying that the trade hasn't been good for Edmonton. It's just something that I've been observing, and I hope he can start to pick up his game a little bit. But that's pretty much my main thoughts from the game against Colorado. They clinched the playoff spot. They had great metrics. Colorado just couldn't generate anything all night. Edmonton played terrific. Now, heading into Saturday's game on Hockey Night in Canada against the Calgary Flames, Battle of Alberta, the last one of the season. The Oilers lost their last meeting to the Flames, but they've won 8 of the last 10 heading into that game, and it was a terrific game, except there was a 15-minute period in the second, maybe closer to like 12 minutes. There was a 12-minute span in the second period where Calgary just put it to the Oilers. So we will talk about that, but first I'm going to talk about the race for the Pacific Division title. Now, as it stands today, as of the recording of this video, it is April 8th. Vancouver has not yet played their game against Vegas, so as of right now, recording this in front of you, the Oilers are 3 points back of the Canucks with 1 game in hand and a head-to-head still to be played against them. That is coming up on Saturday, and the Oilers are very realistically back in the talks to overtake the Canucks in the Pacific. The Canucks haven't been playing very bad hockey recently, but the Oilers have found a way to catch up, and there is a possibility that Edmonton, if they win that game in hand and they win the head-to-head in regulation, well, now you can think of the Oilers as 1 game up, or one point up on the Canucks. I am very curious to see how this plays out. Now, I was kind of looking at the standings and I was kind of thinking, well, what would be better for the Oilers? Is it better to just focus on making sure that you finish second in the division and you get home ice for round one? But I know first in the division opens up a lot of different possibilities. Either way, they're going to be playing Vegas or LA, depending where they finish. I mean, if they finish first in the Pacific, it's possible they play Nashville, but I'm not sure if that would actually happen. But it is going to be, I am curious to see where Edmonton finishes, and the fact that they're even in this position after their 2-9-1 start to the season is pretty amazing to me. I'm very happy about this situation that Edmonton is in. They deserve to make a run and win their first division title since 1987. I would love to see it personally. But the next thing I want to talk about with the Flames game was Evander Kane. Now, we have good Evander Kane against Colorado Avalanche, and then we have maybe not quite so good Evander Kane against Calgary Flames. Now, I didn't think his game against the Flames was particularly awful, but there's a few storylines and narratives that have come out. So there was a play in the second period. Kulak, he made a bad play at the blue line. It resulted in an on-man rush. Evander Kane got bumped after the whistle when Pickard made the save, and then he slashed. I forget who was on the Flames. He slashed. It was a stupid, terrible, dumb play. He was put in the box. The Oilers were up 2-0 at this point, and then Calgary scores on the power play to make it 2-1. And from that point on in the second period, the Flames had all of the momentum. They controlled play, and it was a turning point in the game. It was a bad penalty for Evander Kane to take, and those are the type of retaliatory penalties that you want to avoid once the playoffs start, because the refs are going to call that. They're going to see a guy get bumped after a whistle, and then they always look for the guy that retaliates. Now, whether that's fair or not isn't the discussion. The discussion here is just don't retaliate. All right. There's a time and place to, make your mark in a game. And to me, that's during play. In between whistles, making sure you're hitting guys in corners, making sure that you're producing offensively if you can, making the right play with the puck. When you're away from the puck and the whistle has blown, just don't do that. All right. Now, later in the period, it was late in the second period with Evander Kane. They had a shift, him, Corey Perry, and Ryan McLeod. They were in Calgary zone, and Evander Kane made kind of a poor play behind the Flames net. It resulted in a turnover that went into Edmonton zone, and they kind of touched on it on the Hockey Night Canada panel, Kevin Bieksa and them, because the cameras caught Corey Perry and Evander Kane in a pretty heated discussion. And it was a one-way heated discussion because Corey Perry was visibly irate on the bench, and you could tell that he was directing that towards Evander Kane. I'm not a lip reader. I don't know everything that was said, but Evander Kane, someone that comes across as very positive, arrogant in like a good way when he's on your team. Evander Kane, when Corey Perry was yelling at him, he was very, reserved, and he wasn't, I was talking to someone earlier today. Basically, if this had happened, let's say Dustin Byfuglien yelled at Evander Kane in Winnipeg. If this was years ago, early in Kane's career, Evander Kane would have been laughing about it. Probably. That's just who he was back then. I think there's some growth and maturity with Evander Kane, and I think there's a positive to take out of what happened on the bench between him and Corey Perry. Because when Corey Perry was letting him know, what you did, that's a mistake, gave the puck away, whatever Corey Perry was telling him, Evander Kane, he was listening. He was nodding his head. He didn't try and make a big deal about it on the bench. And they probably had a good discussion in the dressing room in between periods. And for Corey Perry, he is a leader. He was brought in for this reason, to call guys out, hold players accountable on the bench. Crosby and Hornqvist used to go at it on the bench in Pittsburgh. Kessel and Malkin used to go at it. McDavid went at it with Puljujarvi a few times. Draisaitl's got into it with Evander Kane. This is healthy. If you've played sports, if you've played hockey, this is healthy. A little story here. So I play in a no-hit rec league. It's not even like a beer league. You can't even you're not even technically allowed to drink alcohol, after the games or before the games. Some guys still have a beer here and there because, who's going to stop us? But anyway, so it's a very relaxed no-hit league. Now, my team that I was on this season, we were struggling. First half of the year, we had 2 wins in our first 12 games, and we had just recently lost 10-3 or 11-3. And we had a guy on our team, he is our best player, and of course I'm not going to name names, but he laid into us. He was laying into us on the bench, and then after the game in the dressing room again. And this isn't even we're not even playing for a Stanley Cup in a beer league, but this is stuff that happens. I was personally called out for my poor play, and from that moment on, that was a turning point for our team in the season. We ended up finishing third place in the league after the playoffs. We went from dead last to finishing third after the playoff format ended, and it was good. It's good to be called out sometimes, and especially for your leaders on the bench too, to make sure that they're holding guys accountable and that it is okay to show that emotion, as long as it's not done in like an abusive way. Like, obviously you don't want that, but when it comes to the verbal side and just holding guys accountable, that is a good thing. Evander Kane is better for this. Corey Perry, that is why he was brought in, to help this team win a Stanley Cup. He's been to 4 Cup finals. He knows what it takes, and the finer details on the ice. He knows what you need to do to take that, step to the next level. And, just because guys like Kane, they're in their, 30s now, Draisaitl's in his late 20s, McDavid's nearing his late 20s. These are guys that you're still learning. You should still be open and willing to learn and listen. And this is a good thing. For Evander Kane, he's been playing so much, better at 5-on-5 and, being held accountable for the times that he is making a mistake out there and it's resulting in negative play in Edmonton's end. That just makes him better, in my opinion. And sometimes the players do that instead of the coaches with each other. And I don't think that that is a problem. Whatever narrative you guys think there's out there with, the players disliking Kane, if Evander Kane has worn out his welcome, all this stuff, that I don't think what happened against the Calgary Flames has anything to do with that. That was just a leader in Corey Perry holding a guy accountable. And they probably were pretty chill in the dressing room after the game. They said their piece and they're going to be better moving forward. And I hope they stay together on the same line, because that line is terrific. Corey Perry, Evander Kane, and Ryan McLeod, they drive play. They are offensive. They've been chipping in with goals. They're getting under players' skin, and you love to see it. So that's what I wanted to talk about with Evander Kane. Now, moving on here with Connor Brown. He's the next topic, and Connor Brown has been playing some very good hockey. He actually was promoted to the second line in the third period. Was it the second line? First line? Second line. He was promoted in the third period. He did get some shifts up in the top 6, and I was very happy about that because Connor Brown has deserved it. He's been playing good hockey. He has a few goals now. He's up to 4 on the season. He scored against the Calgary Flames, and you love to see that for Connor Brown. Obviously, it was a matter of time before he'd get that first goal. Once he scored against Washington, you can just tell that the turning point for him, his play on the ice 5-on-5, his penalty kill, everything. When he's on the ice, he is not a liability or a detriment to the team. And if he's given third or second line shifts every now and then, hey, depending where you're at in a game, if he gets a shift here and there with Connor McDavid, as a fan, I'm no longer worried about his ability to either produce, not produce, or be a liability defensively. Connor Brown is playing very good hockey at the right time. And if he's playing like he has recently in the playoffs, that is amazing news for Edmonton. And it might just make that $3.25 million that we owe him next season when he's not even on the team that much easier to swallow. And hey, who knows, maybe we even look at bringing him back and re-signing him. Not saying that they would do that, and maybe, I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself, but I do want to congratulate Connor Brown and just let him know that, and that's someone that I was very hard on earlier this season too. I was like, hey, maybe we should move on from Brown, sooner rather than later. But I'm happy he's finding his game. So I am going to kind of move on to the next subject. That was, good for Connor Brown. If you're a fan of Connor Brown and you like him, make sure you hit that like button. For the next topic, I'm going to try not to keep you guys too much longer because we are over 20 minutes here. Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, they were paired together against Colorado, and then they stayed together against Calgary Flames for the most part. Once they got into the third period, there was a couple shifts where they weren't out at the same time. But Chris Knobloch has a tendency to load them up when the team starts to struggle, either with scoring goals or, if they've lost 2 or 3 in a row. I will see Chris Knobloch put those two together. Those two are the offensive drivers of the team. And sometimes if nobody is scoring, you take advantage of the 2 players that can produce and you put them together and you take your chances with, can they outscore the opponent? Against Colorado Avalanche, it was nice to see that other players and lines were contributing when they got paired together because optimally and ideally, Connor McDavid centers his own line, Leon Draisaitl centers his own line, because for the opposition, you make it as hard as you can to figure out which players you're going to match against McDavid, and then the rest will go up against Draisaitl to prevent them from scoring. At the end of the day, in the NHL, you are trying to prevent the other team's best players from scoring, and you are also trying to generate offense on your own. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, they play very well together, and in short bursts, they work very well, and it's a good thing. Long term, I would like to see Chris Knobloch continue to separate them, but they might have something going with some of the other lines here, because you don't really want to break up that fourth line. Janmark, Ryan, and Brown have been playing terrific hockey. Those 3 in their metrics have been great. And then the third line with Perry, McLeod, and Evander Kane, that line is very good. So right now there's some wiggle room in the top 6 with Adam Henrique, Nugent Hopkins, switching a couple guys here and there on the first and second line. Ideally, you keep McDavid and Draisaitl or McDry separated. However, in short bursts, it does work, and I'm glad it has been working. And I'm curious to see if they're going to stay together to try and push for the Pacific title and also, a couple different milestones. So speaking of milestones, let's move into NHL history. There's a couple things that have happened recently and can happen. So first thing, Leon Draisaitl, he is the only active player to have 5 seasons of 40 goals and 100 points. At least 5 seasons of at least 40 goals and 100 points. He achieved that milestone against the Calgary Flames with his 40th of the season. So congrats to Leon Draisaitl. That is very exciting. And I was actually surprised to see that he is the only active player currently with 5 40-goal and 100-point seasons. So very interesting to see. Obviously, in the next couple seasons, that will change with guys like Matthews and, McDavid. He's having a down year. He's not hitting 40 goals this year, probably. I won't put it past him if he ends up scoring 9 goals in the last 6 games of the season, but you know what I mean. There are really good players, and you will see more active players with that. Offense is up, but I am happy for Leon Draisaitl, and it does show that Leon Draisaitl truly is, he's a special player. He's one of a kind. These types of players don't come around often, and the fact that the Oilers have Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid is pretty special. We're witnessing history every time that they step onto the ice. And speaking of history, of course, Connor McDavid, just a quick reminder, he is 1 assist away from 100 on the year. He will become just the 4th NHL player to ever accomplish that feat. He will join Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Bobby Orr. And, I'm kind of thinking about it. I'm like, it's kind of amazing Bobby Orr had a 100 assist season as a defenseman, and he's only one of 3 players to have done it. And, Connor McDavid in modern NHL, the fact he's going to do it. And what's even more wild? Nikita Kucherov, as of today, is at 93 assists. He could get 6 assists or 7 assists in his last 4 or 5 games. I don't know if he will, but could you imagine if we ended up with 2 players with a 100 assists this year when previously only 3 players had ever done it? That would be quite the NHL history to witness. And as a fan of hockey, I love seeing it. I want to see Ovechkin break the all-time goal record. I want to see more players hit 100 assists in a season. I want to see a player hit 70 goals in a single year in my lifetime. These are things that I, as a fan, it's good for the game, good for marketability with stars. And it's just exciting. I just love watching it. So that's my thoughts on NHL history with Oilers and different players in the league right now. The Hart Trophy race is going to be very interesting, and the Art Ross race right now too. Connor McDavid is not quite out of it, but as the season comes to an end, it looks more and more likely that Kucherov may win his, I think, 2nd or 3rd Art Ross. So good for Kucherov. I know he also set the record for most assists for a winger in NHL history. So just a quick shout out and congrats to Kucherov. I know this is an Oilers channel, but I do like to bring other hockey topics and things into these videos sometimes. I just like hockey. I watch it every day. I just absorb it constantly. But I do appreciate you tuning in, sitting as long as you have. If you watch the whole video, it means the world to me. Tomorrow's video will be a look at the Bakersfield Condors. They recently clinched their playoff spot. We're going to take a look at some of the Oilers' top prospects down there. I'm going to take a look at Dylan Holloway, Raphael Lavoie, Olivier Rodrigue, net. I'm going to take a look at Jack Campbell too, see how he's been doing. Just a bit of an AHL report. I haven't done one of those in a while, and I think it's good to see what's in the pipeline, especially once the NHL playoffs start, because we're going to try and discuss who's going to come up on the NHL roster to as the Black Aces, players waiting in the wings in case there's injuries. So there will be much to talk about tomorrow. I appreciate everyone tuning in. As always, if you like these discussion videos and you want more of them, make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe if you really like them, and make sure that you tell someone that you love them today. If you are able to see the solar eclipse, make sure you do so safely. I think that's really exciting. Living in Western Canada, we don't get to see that today, but out east, that's pretty cool. So enjoy that if you do, and I'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate you guys tuning in. You're seriously the best. I cannot thank you enough. Your support means the world to me. So thank you and take care.